بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. المحاضرة الفرقة الرابعة هو انجليزي. We are talking about banking operations. Last lecture we talked about conditions of the current account. We talked about general and special conditions. General conditions: the current account is formed between two parts, bank and its clients. We talked about general conditions of the current account. Contract or valid consent between its parts, defined object, legitimate cause. We talked about first conditions. We said both parts should express their mutual consent on the opening of the current account, and they must agree on all terms and conditions of the current account. All operations between two parts achieved with 1 year, and the current account is contract based on the personal consideration. The client should have the legal capacity to perform an operation on the current account. And we said the capacity of natural person, the capacity of judicial or moral person. The capacity of the natural person, we talked about a person must have a full capacity to open the current account according to Egyptian law. The person is 21 years old. The minor cannot open the current account unless he had judicial permission to receive and administer his funds. Although the bankrupt can't open the current account, but in case of declaration of bankruptcy, the account is wound up immediately after the declaration of the bankruptcy by the court. This one. Two, we talked about the capacity of judicial person. We have one question: who is judicial person? He enjoys an independent status and can open the current account with a bank. Who is judicial person? He enjoys an independent status and can open the current account with a bank. For example, commercial companies have a current account in general banks. The companies present all the documents related to their establishment, certificates, registration. According to the current account law of companies in Egypt, the current account may be opened for a company under establishment. The current account closed when the company is terminated for any cause. We talked about the capacity of the judicial person, or is a judicial person. He enjoys an independent status and can open the current account with a bank. For example, commercial companies have current account in several banks. The companies present all the documents related to their establishment, certificates, registrations. According to the current account law of companies in Egypt, the current account may be opened for a company under establishment. The current account closed when the company is terminated for any cause. This last lecture. Today we are talking about 2 points: defined object, legitimate cause. defined object الغرض المحدد، legitimate cause السبب المشروع. Defined object, we are talking about the object of the current account is collect the rights and debits of both parts. يعني أنا في الغرض المحدد بتاع الحساب الجاري ده بجمع الحقوق وبجمع الواجبات بتاعة طرفين، the bank and the clients. Okay, the bank and the clients. And according to agreed upon terms and conditions. لازم أوافق على كل الشروط والبنود until its final settlement by winding up. يعني لغاية تصفيتها. يعني أنا دلوقتي الغرض المحدد بتاع الحساب الجاري إني بيجي العميل بيفتح الحساب مع البنك لمدة say 1 year، سنة. خلال السنة دي بيبقى فيه حقوق وفيه واجبات. The client will withdraw will deposit، هيسحب ويودع. The bank will withdraw and will deposit، هيسحب برضه ويودع within 1 year. After that close the account ونشوف مين creditor ومين الديتور. Who is the debtor who is the creditor. يبقى أنا عندي defined object. The object of the current account is collect the rights and debits of both parts and according to agreed upon terms, conditions until its final settlement by winding up. Closed. After 1 year, close this account to know who is the debtor, who is the creditor. Maybe client is the debtor, maybe client is the debtor, a creditor. Bank is the creditor, bank is the debtor. Okay, this first point, defined object. Second, legitimate cause. سبب المشروع عشان اقدر افتح legitimate cause of the current account، المشروع بتاع حساب الجاري. The code of the contract is usually for the client to obtain or give a credit necessary for his transactions. يبقى انا عندي عشان السبب لازم يكون في سبب مشروع يقدر يفتح حساب الجاري لأعماله. يعني الراجل اللي بيستفاد من فتح هذا الحساب الجاري هو العميل مش البنك، لأنه بيخدم تجارته، بيخدم احتياجات تجارته. اكزامبل مثلا هو مثلا فاتح open commercial مثلا شوبز، يعني محلات تجارية، فاتح مثلا مصنع، فاتح شركات تجارية، فهو محتاج الفلوس يضخ، فبيضطر يعمل حساب جاري مع البنك عشان يضخ في حساباته. بس لازم يكون السبب مشروع. ما ينفعش مثلا يجي يعمل حساب جاري ويبقى السبب هو تجارة مخدرات، يعني drugs trading، يعني تجارة مخدرات. ده it's not legitimate cause، يعني سبب مشروع، سبب غير مشروع. يبقى أنا عندي we talked about 2 points. First point, defined object. Second point, legitimate cause. Defined object, the object of the current account is collect rights and the debits of both parts and according to agreed upon terms and conditions until its final settlement by winding up. Legitimate cause, the cause of the contract is usually for the client to obtain or give credit necessary for his transactions. Example about legitimate cause like open commercial companies, something like that, commercial transactions. But it's not legitimate cause like drugs trading, you know. So now we talked about general conditions of the current account. We talked about valid consent between its parts. We talked about defined object. We talked about legitimate cause. We talked about capacity of natural person, capacity of judicial persons. We talked about defined object, legitimate cause. إن شاء الله المحاضرة الجاية هنتكلم على bankruptcy banking operations is finished، انتهى خلاص. هنتكلم المحاضرة الجاية على bankruptcy. شكرا.